Zombies are everywhere and they're coming for your brains. You know what's even scarier than a feral pack of undead corpses? The myths about climate change that just won't die.
I call these the zombie myths because no matter how many times we kill them, they keep coming back. And, we think we totally destroy it, and boy, there it is again.
Today, I'm going to show you how to spot those zombie climate myths so you're not caught off guard when they come at you. Myth number 1, climate change is natural. The first myth that keeps rising from the dead. The climate has always changed, and what we're seeing is natural.
The climate has been constantly changing since the Earth was formed 4.6 billion years ago.
Yep, that's a zombie myth. To debunk the myth, I turned to Bob Henson, a meteorologist and the author of The Thinking Person's Guide to Climate Change.
The fact that climate has changed in the past doesn't explain why it's changing now. We know from looking at the causes of past climate changes, a lot of them were due to astronomical orientations. Others were due to extreme amounts of volcanism at different times in world history. And none of those explain what's happening now.
What's different now is that we are changing the climate. Carbon dioxide is the main driver of temperature. And that's the main driver of climate change. There are also other gases that trap heat, methane, nitrous oxide, and so on, and those have gone up as well. We know what's causing this. All of this is due to human activities. We know it's come from fossil fuels, that billion-year-old carbon. And we know this so many different ways. We're measuring carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It's gone up 50% since the Industrial Revolution. It's now at 420 parts per million. We've not seen that in a million years on Earth, and that's causing the climate to warm.
We know exactly why the Earth is warming now. It's us. So it's finally time to put that zombie myth into the ground for good. Now, the next zombie myth is pretty rotten. Some people pretend that just a few degrees of global warming, it's no big deal. Myth number 2, it's just a few degrees, no biggie. Here's that zombie myth being spread to new brains.
Now you're shown graphs like this, you can hardly notice the 1 degree rise in temperature. This has not been a very significant change in global temperature.
Protect your brain. Here's the reality. Even a small number on a thermometer can have a large impact. A degree or even a fraction of a degree of warming amplifies extreme weather.
Well, we know that globally it's warmed closer to 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is more than 2 degrees Fahrenheit. If you ever think that a couple of degrees don't matter, just check your temperature when you're running a fever. And you're not going to feel as good if it's 101 versus 99, right? Small increments make a difference.
According to NASA, in a world just a little warmer, we can expect 5 times the number of storms, floods, and droughts. And the number of people experiencing severe heat waves will double.
A planet that's 2 degrees Celsius warmer than pre-industrial levels is a planet where it's going to be tough for us to continue to live in the way that we're used to. 2 degrees Celsius of warming of the planet, the better part of 4 degrees Fahrenheit warming of the planet. That really starts to challenge our adaptive capacity. And 3 degrees Celsius, more than 5 degrees Fahrenheit warming of the planet. In most assessments, that sort of warming would probably lead to the destabilization of civilization as we know it.
So when you see this myth, be ready to slash any chance of its survival. There are so many conspiracy theories about climate change that it's hard to stop them all, but let's reach into our bag of conspiracy theories and pull out a few.
Memes on climate are like whack-a-mole. You knock one down, another one comes up. It's been called the Gish Gallop from a scientist who came up with the idea that you bat down one argument that's kind of facetious or silly or confused, and another one pops up. Because why deal with having your first argument refuted when you can just grab another one from the big bag, right?
Did giant lasers cause the fires in Maui?
Well, if those giant lasers were out trying to cause fires all over the globe, they were working overtime in Canada. because Canada had 3 times more fires than they've ever had. So I'm not sure where you put all those lasers. It must be tough.
Is climate change a hoax created by the Chinese government?
Well, it certainly wouldn't be in China's interest to create climate change because they have a very vulnerable climate. It gets really hot and really cold. But if you think one country can get the world scientists to agree on something, you have another thing coming, because scientists love to disagree. That's what science is all about. So no, I don't foresee the scientists I know getting on board with a hatched plot.
Are 15-minute cities a way to trap people in open-air prisons?
Well, the cities that are easy to get around, where you can get most places in 15 minutes, those are extremely livable. And if you want a city that's not a 15-minute city, just give everybody 2 or 3 cars. Imagine everybody trying to get out of a football stadium or a concert, right? Or a city at rush hour. So I think a 15-minute city, I'd much rather leave there in case of emergency.
Myth number 3, we're helpless. There's nothing we can do. It's easy to feel hopeless about climate change. Frightening headlines are everywhere in the news. But what gets overlooked is that we've already made a lot of progress to fight back against climate change.
We are moving in the right direction. We're just not moving fast enough. Clean energy is the largest source of new energy going online for utility scale generation. In the US, about 80% of the new electricity generation that's going online is solar and wind, and that's good, and storage. But it needs to be even faster, and we have to phase out the fossil fuels at the same time.
And we know what we need to do: adopt clean, renewable forms of energy.
Especially now, with solar, wind, and battery storage being the cheapest forms of new energy that we're bringing online, there's no reason not to move in that direction. It will be such a better world. We'll be personally healthier, planetarily healthier. We'll send fewer kids to the hospital with asthma. Our cities will be more walkable and friendly. We'll be gaining jobs. We'll be competing in the global clean energy economy.
Falling prices are accelerating the transition to clean sources of electricity. The cost of solar and wind has dropped dramatically in the past 20 years. That means that today, solar and wind farms are much less expensive than coal plants.
So there is no reason not to be making these moves, and it's not a sacrifice, it's not deprivation, it's a better world that we'll be building.
Because we are that sort of pivotal point where we can still take the actions necessary to keep our climate within a range that's habitable for us and other living things. But if we don't act, then danger certainly lurks in the future in a scenario of inaction.
So action is essential, as is an understanding of the truth. We are not the walking dead, and the climate is no corpse, but killing these zombie myths is critical. The truth should prevail, and the truth is, the climate is changing, and it's changing to a degree we've never seen before. Our increased burning of fossil fuels is warming the planet. But no, we are not doomed if we take action and ownership. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, climateconnections.org.